G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. So, been a couple of weeks since I've been at work actually. Been down to Melbourne, picked up that blue BA, did a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, back at work with the black BA, going to be upgrading the intercooler this video. So, got the car in the wash bay, about to give it a wash because it's real dusty. Bring it inside, pull the front bar off, pull all the cooler piping off, pull the headlights out, get everything ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow Justin's coming in, he's the sort of main fabricator at work. I could weld this all myself, but A, it will take me forever. B, I'll make terrible choices with how to run the piping. C, it'll take me forever. D, I'll get distracted way too much. And whatever comes after D, E, Justin is a better fabricator, so he will do way cleaner welds than that. Yes, I'm capable of doing it, but anyway, we'll get it done in a day with him. It'll be much nicer, it'll turn out way better. It's all getting powder coated anyway, so at the end of the day, the welds don't matter that much, but anyway. So yeah, we'll be pulling it all apart today and then coming back tomorrow and actually welding it in. So he'll make some brackets as well to hold the intercooler and all that sort of stuff. So he's just a lot better at that than I am. So that'll be probably the first time anyone other than me has sort of laid a spanner on this thing, other than all of the special individuals that have just made it worse since it was originally built, that owned it in between. So we'll get that wash done and then take it into the shop and pull the bar off and just rip straight into it today. I don't really want to be here too long. In and out, a couple of hours, get it all ready for tomorrow and then do all the work tomorrow. She's very dusty, but probably hard to see. Anyway, let's clean it. Damn, I do like white BAs, but yeah. Anyway, let's get this inside out of the sun before it starts drying and dry it off inside in the shade. I just have to ignore all the background noise. I've got the bloody sex pest Mekai working today as well. So just ignore him and his bad taste in music. Alright, so I had panicked thinking I didn't have enough clamps because there's a clamp on the turbo, which will stay there, a clamp on the throttle, which will stay there. But I thought that was then one pipe all the way with just one join there. But then I thought this was all one pipe. So I never actually went back and looked at my video. So now that I've realized I've actually got 5 clamps, I had just messaged Mick to ask for another clamp, so I'll cancel that. So that works out well. So we can probably do however we need to do here. This might even end up staying pretty much the same, just getting a little bit of clearancing and then maybe a little bit of shortening or whatever here. Yeah, so whatever Justin works out, he's the fabricator, he's in charge of all this. So either way, I've got 5 clamps, that should easily get me sorted. I may see what Justin reckons. We might end up putting a clamp here on the other cooler as well. Just go with 6 clamps in total. And then, yeah, so I've got 10 ferrules to weld on. So the actual pieces that you weld on, these are the ferrules. I've bought 10 of them, which is a lot cheaper than buying new clamps. So they come with new O-rings and stuff. So I'll get these headlights off, I'll get all the piping out and get the cooler out, and then I'm pretty much done. All right, those headlights are never going back in this car. All right, first clamp off. Yes, you only have to undo one side, which is great. All right, so that is absolutely fucking putrid. Whoever done that. So look, I wasn't going to buy a FG throttle or anything because I wasn't going to waste my time with this plenum changing anything, but honestly, looking at that, I'm really tempted now just to buy an FJ throttle body with an adapter or something, or a Bosch throttle body with an adapter plate for it, and just go to a Bosch throttle body with a slip-on sleeve. I'm sure the Tarks or whatever EFI Solutions sleeve will work with Aeroflow clamps or whatever. So maybe it is time to change this throttle body, because that is absolutely disgusting. And we all know that I do not want to put that back on the car. It also, like, it's gross anyway, like all the paint's peeling off it and it's really gross. So yeah, we're gonna do something about that. Yeah. All right, so another thing I've just found after obviously just seeing that and just being disgusted is the reason that AC probably doesn't work is because this is just pretzeled over itself to fit this stupid cooler in 2 spots. So having said that though, I could probably just weld a fitting to this hose, even like here or something, and do it differently, weld another fitting there. So once I get this cooler out, I'll take a better look at it, but also almost looks like the radiator's leaking. It yeah, definitely looks like the radiator's leaking. I bet you it's a Phoenix. So anyway, we'll take a good look at all this once it's all apart. Alrighty, so obviously got the turbo outlet off. Clamp fell down there somewhere, so I'll have to grab that. Now we're thinking of deleting this battery tray. I'll get Josie to take a look at it, see if it's going to be worth deleting, because that frees up an absolute boatload of room to go under there. So that'll make it way easier to clear all this stuff. You'll be able to go like a straight to a 90 or something, or to a whatever, and then another bend and then down. Instead of putting a clamp here, I'll probably go the clamp like here or somewhere a bit easier to get to. And then I will maybe buy another clamp to put on the cooler there, but we'll figure out what Justin wants to do. But yeah, deleting that battery tray would actually free up a lot of room. The thing I should probably make up my mind on sooner rather than later is this coming out of here. Obviously a 3-inch pipe doesn't really fit here because someone's already had an absolute belt of a time to try and get that to clear the headlight. So maybe we'll go straight down and go through here, delete the washer bottle. Then if we go straight down, then I can put an oil cooler here as well once the washer bottle's out of the way. And we might just have to look at a better tank to use for a washer bottle. Just get like a little fabricated Aeroflow one or something. All right, got the fan out of the way, which, not the fan, the horn. Undone the top bolts. Then just got to lift her up, take the lower mounts off and pull the cooler out. Oh, there's a lot of water in the front of that. So that fins of that intercooler was completely full of water, in case you can't tell by how wet I currently am and my microphone. Alrighty, so I'm probably just going to remove the throttle body and measure the bolt pattern and see if a Bosch one will fit, because I've been Googling it and I can't decide what to believe, because some things say that BA and FG are the same, which is cool because I'll just buy an FG throttle, but some things also say that like some pictures I found that shows that FG is a 3-bolt pattern, which I don't think they are. So I'm just going to remove it, measure it, and then at least check that against Bosch, because I know a Bosch 74mm with a Haltech is a real responsive setup on a Barra, because that's what's on Frankie's car and it's manual and it drives really good, super responsive. So I'm happy to do that if I need. Otherwise I'll just get an FG throttle and an FG adapter that just goes over the throttle body and clamps onto it. And then the FJ throttle bodies also look way nicer than these ugly BA ones with this big ass plug and motor and all this crap hanging off them. So I'll definitely change it, but because I don't think anyone makes an adapter, if they are different, to go from BA plenum to FJ throttle body. I can only find the opposite of that to fit BA throttle bodies on like FG plastic manifolds through custom alloy welding. But yeah, anyway, we'll pull this off and measure it and see what's going on. So I got my BA throttle off. I'm just going to measure up the flange bolt pattern. So it looks like it's probably 66 mil. So from the middle to the middle is probably 66 mil. And then, yeah, it looks like about 66 mil square. So I think FG is like 66 or something, and then 73 or something. So FG is definitely different to that. Alrighty, so Bosch 74 mil throttle is one option, but it's 4x99. So that bolt pattern literally wouldn't fit on this flange. It might, but it would be a massive stretch, so that's never going to happen. I would need to get an adapter plate welded on, which will then make this look very ugly. So I'm going to see if I can get I've got 2 options. I'm going to try and, I think I can re-drill this to FG, which I should just need to move these 2 over, about 10 mil, drill and tap that. Or I've emailed Toomey to see what the lead times are on billet plenums, because I want to do one anyway, so maybe it's time to just do it now. Other option is I just leave it as is, and just ignore it, but I'm really struggling. So I really don't want to do that. But yeah, so if Toomey has got a massive lead time on their plenums, and I can't find the FG throttle body between now and tomorrow, then yeah, I think I might just leave it. So we'll see what ends up happening. So, because yeah, there's not a whole heap of point for me spending more time fabricating piping to this plenum if I'm just going to change to a Toomey, you know, in 6 months. That's going to have to get remade. So, but if the Toomeys are like 3-month wait or 2-month wait or something, then obviously I'll just probably not worry about it for now. Alrighty, so closing thoughts for today's video, today's first half anyway. Definitely going to commit to getting rid of this battery tray. That's just going to create so much more room across here for the cooler piping to then go off here. It can then cut straight through there, run straight through down the hole, and then it's just like a 90 to the cooler. Definitely going to commit to, I'm going to move this catch can, I'm going to unbolt it now, get it out of the way. Going to delete the washer bottle and probably hole saw through the bottom of this panel and go straight out there. Then also throttle body wise, I think I'm going to commit to FJ throttle body. I'm just going to re-drill these out further, and then get an FJ throttle body, an Aeroflow FG throttle body to clamp adapter, and then that's nice and easy. And then just a FJ throttle body plug adapter. I was looking into thinking maybe doing a 74mm Bosch dry-bar wire, so at least it's brand new, but they're 99 by 99, so that flange is only like 100 by 100, so that won't fit. So just get a Bosch a FG throttle body during the week, get all the adapters during the week, commit to just doing that. I'll obviously move this out of the way for now, see if it will actually fit back up here, because once I change the throttle body stuff, it may actually fit back there. Might be able to just bend all this out of the way. I also may now, given that's all bent and screwed, do I just commit to deleting AC, take the condenser out, delete the compressor, get a compressor delete kit, and just commit to getting rid of it, which will then free up all this sort of stuff out of the engine bay, get all that out of the way. We'll make it a lot neater. Because at the end of the day, I don't even have a heater, so there's probably no point in having heater and aircon. None of it works anyway at the moment, so I think I'll just delete it all. Immediately changed my mind again. I'm definitely going to leave the AC stuff in, because I'm going to gas it up and see if it works, or at least if it holds pressure. Because if it holds pressure, I can fix that hose. That's not the end of the world. They're fixable. Because that's literally just a weird join. So I could literally I could probably even weld that to that directly. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it for now, because I can always delete it later. It's easy enough to do later, because this radiator looks like it's leaking anyway. So I probably need to get a new radiator, and then I'll do the condenser delete out from the radiator side if I have to. But with that catch can out of the way now, I can probably move the reg off the rail, move it over here, mount it properly. Might even get Justin to make me a bracket tomorrow. So I might just start pulling this rail off, start fitting up the other rail now, so then I know what fittings I need. So when I get my fittings for my throttle body and stuff, I'll also be able to get my fittings to finish my full flex setup and my reg setup. So I'm gonna start ripping that off now, and hopefully I get somewhere with it. We got all the bolts out of the fuel rail. Should, in theory, just pry up, and then I'll be able to undo that middle hose. All right, always slightly concerning when one injector O-ring's a different color. So I might get Jay out this week to just flow test all those injectors, just make sure they're all right. They're out anyway, so yeah. So I will start mounting that rail, the Plazzy rail, just to see how I need to plumb it, and then because I'll probably need fittings for that anyway, and then figure out what fittings I need, make my plan, and then pull the injectors back out so I can get them looked at. Also, while under here, I have put that knock sensor plug back on that I mentioned in a previous video. So that's connected now. It just doesn't have a metal clip on it, so it may pop off again, but at least it's connected now. I can look at that data if I ever need. Not like it does a whole heap on E85, but anyway. Another thing that I can do now that I'm accepting my fate that this is not going back on the road this weekend, I'm going to replace this oil drain. So I'm going to pull this hose off and shoot down a 1320 and get one of those airflow bendy hoses. So I'll undo this end of it, try and get the turbo end off. I might need to get an extended flange on the turbo to get a bendy hose on it, but I'll see what I can do. Really don't think I can get to any of that from down here. Can't get to any of that from down here, so I'll have a look from up top. But yeah, I'll get this bottom half off first and hopefully that's pretty painless. Alrighty, so that was FT. That was way too tight, so I'm actually a little worried that those threads are a little no good. So I might end up buying a new flange, but we all know how annoying they are to seal. So yeah, we'll take everything off and take it all down to 1320. I don't even know how they've done that bolt. It's like touching the threads of the boss. So we've obviously tightened one, moved it over and tightened the other. All right, probably just gonna be a lot easier to get this overflow tank out of the way. It's gonna be easier to do this cooler piping with that out of the way anyway. So I'm just gonna yeet that out of the way and get this get this hose off. So then worst case, I can head to 1320 on Monday, get a new turbo drain and fit that. And tomorrow we'll do the cooler piping to like this half, mount the cooler, get it starting to come up. I can pick up a throttle body tonight, just found one on Marketplace, 60 bucks. So get an FG throttle body, drill and tap that tomorrow. Then during the week, get the adapter to mount to the throttle body to be able to put the airflow clamp on it. And then obviously, then just gotta fit my fuel rail and plumb my flex sensor. So everything's coming up Millhouse. We're actually starting to kick some goals now. So let's get this out of the way and pull this hose the rest of the way off. Gives me a much better angle to see that. Now, given it's a fitting, like goes a 90 or something on that. I'll see if I can just undo the dash 10. Hopefully that undoes and I don't have to take the V-band off or anything. I might take this, I don't think it'll help, but taking off that rear housing may help, but because this is not a V-band turbo, so all that would have to get out of the way to be able to do the take the turbo off anyway, so I believe that all comes off first, but we'll find out. Alright, really struggling to be able to get a spanner onto this dash 10 in there, so hopefully just undo that V-band and this pops off. But we all know where my projects go. This is gonna be a missing O-ring or something dumb, and yeah, anyway, let's see what happens. Right, well, that came off relatively painlessly, so that does free up a lot of space there now to be able to get onto that, so I should be able to get this sorted hopefully. So I've cracked that now, but obviously it was this leaking because that's oil everywhere on that, so good to see that it's leaking from the top. I was almost, if I couldn't get that off, I was almost just going to leave that half and change the next section, but it's definitely leaking from the top section. Right, and that would probably have to go down in history as one of the dumbest oil drains I've ever seen. So yeah, that's getting replaced with that Aeroflow bendy hardline. Yeah, now this is a bit on an angle, like the oil goes this way through it. Like if you goes from here to here. So look, it's probably all right. It's not blowing smoke or anything, so I'm not too stressed about it, but just a little bit odd. Obviously the manifold design, you can't really go straight up down because otherwise your oil drain will have to go through the middle of those runners. I'll try and put this nut on this plenum now. Just got one from the bolt kit, so hopefully that'll be the right thread, find out. So it was about time something went my way, so that was the right thread, so I'll just grab a spanner now and tighten that up just with a bent tight. Don't worry about the rest of them. All right, all good. Now I'll just whack that fuel rail on and see how that goes. So here's the Plasman fuel rail. So it comes with a bunch of brackets and everything. I may have to go buy some dash 6 orb fittings from 1320 on Monday as well, because all my hoses are dash 6, but if I've got to remake all my hoses, I might as well go to dash 8. So I have some dash 8 hose, I also have dash 6 hose. Definitely forgot that this was silver, not black, but oh. So I'll just dummy fit this to the injectors and see roughly where it's going to sit, work out roughly what I want to do with my plumbing. Right, this actually worked out pretty perfect. So the airflow rail is dash 8 feeds and a -6 return. So same as this, -6 in the middle, -8 at each end. So I can actually use these orb fittings off the old rail. So I'll change the O-rings on them because they're a bit gross. Put the O-rings off these fittings on them, and yeah, so hopefully that works out all right. Now, the way this is set up on my car, it's feed, feed, return. So we're going to change it to feed at each end and return in the middle, and then move my reg. So the reg used to be mounted on the rail, rather move the reg mounted on the shock tower. So it's another reason why going to the other style plenum's good, because you can mount your reg here. But I'll, given the fact that I'm going to be adding the flex sensor anyway, I'll do my return down over to here to the reg, which I'll make a bracket, mount it up here or something, and then fit the flex sensor on that, on the return from the reg to the surge tank. Alright, so to keep it fairly uniform looking, I went with capping both the ends. That end is capped, a little hard to see. Put the blanking plug on the end. I could put the orb fitting either on the end or whatever. It's just to keep it fairly uniform, I've gone with both of the -6s on the straight out and then the end caps. So this changes the angle of that. That's no longer going to work. Probably move my sensor to my reg anyway, because it's not great to have that mounted on the motor. Be better to have it remote mounted. Then I'll remake my rear hose, will be a feed, because that used to be the return. That obviously goes back to the surge, and now this is my feed, so I'll remake that too. Make some -6 hoses, so I'll redo my 2 feeds. I'll get some 90s, so that'll need to be a 90 to go straight down to my feed. That'll need to probably be a, to be honest, I could probably just do a 45 or something, come out this way and then down. Other option is I do a 90 or a 120 or something and go all the way back along the above the injector harness. So might grab one of each and just see how it looks, because it'll probably be better than running everything under here, but probably actually be better to just go under the manifold. Yeah, so I'll just pull those injector O-rings off just to fit it up, just to make it easier. So yeah, I'll just, yeah, then I'll make my return hose when it's going on. I'll put the orb fitting on it, put a hose on it, a really long piece of hose, and then just because it's a bit hard to get in there and do it up and stuff, so I'll do that up while it's off the car, and then work out where I'm going to mount the reg. Remove the sensor to the ECU off that fitting, and I've just run it in line on the reg now, so that'll just go on the return hose to the reg. So instead of being on the feed side, it's on the return side, so that'll tell me if the restriction with fuel pressure is on the look, I think it's just still that stock return, but the pressure's lower here, or it shouldn't be anyway. It's, yeah, at least now they're in the same spot, so it's not like it's getting pressure to the front of the reg, front of the rail, and then not getting pressure at the end of it anyway. So and then I'll probably mount that like here somewhere, somewhat slightly out of the way, but not too far out of the way, where that can then still be plumbed. That'll just go loop down under to the middle of the rail, and then I'll probably fit the flex fuel sender on the return side back to the tank. So either way, I've got to remake some hoses, so I'll maybe grab some more fittings tomorrow, but I think for the most part I'll have everything I need. So I'm just going to take my feed hoses off and my return line, that one that we remade that one time, wherever that is, right there from the top of the tank. I'll take all these off just so that we can make all those hoses later. All right, line's off. They're just going to drip for a little bit. I think they're just draining the surge tank into a bucket. I've got the turn line off too there. So all good. I will probably head home now that everything's pretty much test fit, dialed in, know what I need to buy. I'll take Monday, I'll go get a new oil return, go get some new fittings for these. I should have enough hose to remake them, whatever I can repurpose probably, you know, that one might be long enough to repurpose for the return or something, and that one will probably just have to get thrown out, but yeah, I should have enough hose there to repurpose everything that I need without having to spend too much on fittings or anything. This is pretty much everything I need to run the flex sensor. So I just need to go from this to the flex sensor, and then from the flex sensor back to like where that goes on the surge tank there. So that should be everything I need, just get some straight fittings and stuff. Yeah, should be all good. Now, obviously fuel rail is bolted up sort of loosely, but I'm going to try and spin all the injectors so that all the plugs are sort of hidden, but like some of these plugs are actually broken, so the actual lock tab where that clip's supposed to go is missing. Like, see how much more there is on that one than that one. So I might just order 6 injector plugs as well and just repin those, just recrimp them, make them a little bit neater, and hide it all better. Well, it's all sort of apart now, seems like a good time to do it. So I'll order some plugs as well, do that next weekend, That'll just be some finishing touches stuff that I can do. Once all the fab's done anyway, I can do all that. So once Juzzy gets all this fabrication done, then I can sort of slap away at that over time. So I'll order some of them. Now I will delete the washer bottle, and whether I delete it and we go through that gap or not, we'll find out tomorrow. But either way, I'm just going to delete it so I can fit an oil cooler there even if I don't go through that panel. Washer bottle deleted, heaps more room for activities. Whether we go through that pipe or whether we just fit the oil cooler there, we'll find out. Anyway, I'm pretty much ready to go home then. So I've done about all I can do. Just need to organise to get the injectors tested, get some fittings on Monday to plumb the fuel system, and fab all the cooler piping tomorrow, apart from the throttle body end. Get a FG throttle body tonight, order a throttle body adapter to go from airflow clamps to FG throttle, get a FG to BA throttle adapter. Now I've got extension wires for my throttle, but I'm probably just going to get a throttle adapter harness, and instead of plugging it into the factory wires, just going to extend all the wires and then crimp it direct to the harness and go straight into the throttle. So delete the factory plugs. So because they're, where are they? That plug, where is it? I can see it, but I can't see it on the video. Right there. Those plugs are real big and chunky. So I'm just going to lift them up to the top, cut those plugs off and crimp directly to the factory harness to the FG plug. So it'll be a lot neater. And then obviously heat shrink all that wiring. So grade save it. All right, I'm out of here. I'll obviously this video will continue tomorrow. Righty, so excuse the audio, I don't have my mic, but that is version 6 printed. Now I just added a little tree for support there just so it didn't end up with an anti-accident. So that's an angle on that. Not sure if it's correct, but it's easy for me to change and adjust now. So we'll, these little trees just snap off. So we'll fit this one and see how it works. So hopefully that angle's good. Alrighty guys, so day 2 on the cooler project. So obviously made a few, uncovered some stuff yesterday, which sort of upset me a little, but moving forward, I've solved a lot of problems already. So going forward, so show you what we've figured out. So first thing, went and picked up a FG throttle body off Marketplace, 60 bucks. So what I was worried about was going to FG throttle and the bolt-on clamp. I started thinking, oh shit, that's gonna pull too far forward from here. Like it's gonna come even closer to the headlights. But obviously once I got them next to each other, I've realized that the BA throttle body sticks out way more than the FG anyway. So even with the clamp on it, I reckon it'll be only, you know, as high as that was. So it should buy me at least another inch of space to get that bend tighter. It's also, they look a million times better too, like that versus this, and external TPS is just gross. So on the plus side though, I have already checked. I was worried about the bolt pattern being a little different, which it is, but I can go, like if you just stick that in there. So I know 2 of the bolts are sweet. Should also be sweet this way. I might just flip it, hang on. It's a bit hard to hold this. So if I flip that way, that goes on sweet. So my plan is literally just to, obviously these studs are going to come out. I'll use bolts, but just need to re-drill. Just need to re-drill 2 holes further over in here, which I should have enough room to drill the holes basically there. So that should be sweet. Now obviously these holes don't even go all the way through this flange, so that's awesome. So I just need to make sure I'll be able to drill it in enough and tap it enough so that I get enough bolt engagement. Probably have to either take the end off a tap, which I'm okay to sacrifice, or buy a blind tap. But either way, that's all good. Now I'll order the Aeroflow intercooler clamp adapter for this. So you can just buy a, they basically, I'll put a picture of it up now, but they go over the throttle external bolt, they go into the bolt holes, and then they've got one of these built into them. So because I'm using Aeroflow clamps already, I'll just buy the Aeroflow branded one. Raceworks does one, a couple other brands. So I just get an Aeroflow one just so it all matches and all the ferrules will work. because mixing and matching these clamp brands is hit and miss at the best of times. So that's one problem solved. Next problem solved is that the next issue was the catch can. I pretty much decided this is gonna go. I think it's just never gonna fit anywhere good. It is designed to fit up here, but in these two mounts, but all this just gets totally in the way. So I'm just gonna buy a 1320 catch can kit. They are like the Ants ones where they mount up here. I've got plenty of room up there to mount it, but the 1321 uses a much nicer looking catch can. So that's gonna get done, and obviously replace the hoses. I'll use braided line this time so it looks a little nicer than just the rubber. Next thing is we are going to definitely remove the battery tray. Justin's pretty confident he can do that fairly neatly, so we'll get that deleted. Now, I've also just grabbed an oil cooler off another car. This one had bearing go through it, so it's a throwaway item anyway, but just to dummy it up, putting it up in here, pretty confident that we will be able to mount that in there with no issues and still be able to run cooler piping. Now, I'm still undecided on aircon. Justin's pretty confident I can buy something from JAS to just mount here, delete this whole hose, and effectively mount it onto this hose here, which will get this out of the way. So just for today, I might delete that, unscrew it from there, get rid of this, and just put like an earplug or something in that and plug up that end just with a cap or something, just to keep the rest of the system fairly sealed for now, just to get this hose out of the way, and then we'll see how much we can move this harness. And then I think I'm gonna go cooler piping through here, because the oil cooler somewhat will follow this angle, which frees up that area to put the hole. So I'm pretty confident I'm gonna just do that. That'll be the neatest way, keep it as far away from the headlight as possible. So that should have all of our issues sorted. So I've got the cooler out ready to start dummy fitting. Just gotta lock these brackets off, and then should start making the mounts on the cooler and stuff. Start with that, and I'll probably start cutting these off while Josie's doing the battery tray. So Joe's just slapping some breakfast first. The other thing I decided was, if I'm remaking my fuel hoses, which are up here, because the orb fittings for the rail are -8, and I have to remake these anyway, and I actually have a bunch of -8 PTFE hose, I might just go to 1320 Monday, get these in -8, and just make the two feed lines -8 anyway. Because I need to buy 2 new fittings for here anyway, and then I would need to make these hoses new using these fittings. So I might as well just buy them in 8, get my 290s in 8, and then both of my feed lines will be 8, and then I'll use the -6 return instead of this, because the fitting on the rail is 6 orb anyway. Whether you use a 8 return or a 6 return, it's still a 6 orb. So I'll just use a 6 return, and I'll just repurpose one of these hoses to go to the return, and then do everything -6 after that. So that'll be fine. So yeah, the feeds will be -8. It's unlikely I'm running out of feed with twin -6 anyway, but it'll be -8 because I've already got the hose. It won't cost me much more. I've got to buy fittings regardless. -8, -6 fittings about the same price, so who cares? So we'll just go to -8 feed, and might take the injectors into 1320 and get them flow tested and stuff, whether they can do them or whether I've got to go to Jay at Brisbane Fuel Injection. Either one. I'll just get the injectors looked at and make sure they're roughly matched. Get new O-rings and get them sonic cleaned and stuff while they're out, make them all nice. So just whacked the turbo housing back on. Obviously we need it to align this anyway, but I was getting a little nervous of the turbo wheel with everything kind of just flopping around. I was picturing the turbo fins getting smacked by the coolant bottle or something. So obviously Jossie's undone all this. About to start picking this off, so I'll probably have to unbolt the fuse box as well, kind of just pull that up and out of the way a little bit. But yeah, we're starting to make some progress. And also, just quickly while it's all here, I forgot to mention it the other day, so I've obviously got 5 clamps. Realistically, I probably should have 6 on this system, 3 on each side. So because this job's probably not going to be finished today anyway, I'll order another clamp during the week. Grab 2 93 inches, and I've got 10 weld-on ferrules, so they're about $20 each or something, so it makes it a lot cheaper to replace that than to sit there trying to cut all of these off to reuse them or anything, because it'll just never look nice. So yeah, we'll give you some more updates as we find some more stuff. So I've just taped over all my open ports and everything that I had. Josie's looking for all the spot welds. I'm about to lop these brackets off. Alright, that's got these brackets nice and flush now. Deleted.
How's it going?
Like they were never there, so I'll just give that a look at back. And that's all ready for the cooler to fit. Okay. So what we're sort of saying here is there's spot welds to the chassis rail here, which will be really hard to drill out, so we might just cut this flush around here with the chassis rail, and then just leave. So we do just sawzall through here and through the front leg just to get it out of the way. And then once the whole top of the bracket's off, it'll be more out of the way. You'll either be able to get to the spot welds better or be able to cut it flusher. So typical Falcon that's had battery acid and shit going on it. So obviously if you're doing this, prepare for that to happen. But might even,
it's way cleaner.
Yeah, at least worst case we've got to fill all those holes anyway. So at some point we'll probably get those holes filled and maybe get this just blown with a bit of paint by Richo or something. We'll probably just hit that with a scotchy on a whizzer and just rattle can it for now though, just to take your eye off it. Right, due to my inability to decide if I want to delete AC or not, what we're going to commit to now is undo this, seal that hose, take the condenser out, take this hose out from here, seal that, and just seal them up for now and delete it all for now. Get rid of this hose out of our way because we need to go through here anyway. And then we can always come back to it. So it won't be completely deleted or chopped or anything. It is replaceable if we have to, but yeah, because if I ever want to do a drag and drive, I'm going to absolutely regret no AC, but if I don't do a drag and drive, I have pretty much no need for AC. In case you're ever wondering, Phoenix, they are eBay crap, I find. They leak. So I don't know if I'll buy another Phoenix radiator, at least it'll be direct bolt in, but I don't like that that's leaking from both sides. So for now that's just going to stay because whatever, but I will probably have to buy a new radiator. I might just go to a PWR one, I think. Alright, so new headlights are in, so we at least know where we need to make all the pipes are out. They're all bolted up fully. So we'll be able to work out exactly where the... I had to pull this harness off. Didn't really want to sit right because of that. I suppose it's alright.
Just reef on them there, anyway. Volts, make sure
we can now work out exactly where to cut. Yeah. We can see if we can fit through there, but I really don't think we will. But we'll get this.
Yeah, so they won't be coming out.
We'll get this harness clipped off the floor as well, and
pretty good.
Either pull that forward or move it further back, whatever it needs.
Let's actually snap this.
And potentially go tuck that right under the headlight and just hole saw there. And then we know that should be clear, but this side is not getting fabricated until next week probably anyway, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I'd like to just basically see if it's going to work. This side, everything all clear, because that hole is well clear of all the headlight stuff, so that's easy. We'll basically just come up out of there and then a straight shot, so that'll basically just be a straight pipe. Straight from there to here, tucked down low, and yeah, that will be easy. So next thing will just be mount the $500. Mount the cooler into the Rio and see what brackets we need to make, because one of the tabs has been chopped off the cooler. So I just need to make the holes in the little doodad for the top mount just a little bit bigger. So just a step drill through the next size. Beautiful. Beautiful. We'll just grab a side each and thread them in. Make life easy. Because this may need to get cut a lot more too. Ooh, maybe not. Do you want to pull it out and bend it?
Yeah, just move it a bit.
What do you reckon?
It's your bolts.
Unbolt it, just unbolt that. It's just those two bolts.
You got it?
Yep. 12. 12. Ford. Not much 13s on a Ford.
Really?
10s, 12s, 14s, 15s.
A lot of 15s.
Yeah. The only thing that's 13s on a Ford, I think there's a nut, yeah. Oh, but just loosen both and it'll probably just push.
Yeah. Is it that one?
Yeah, it should be.
It's not really loosening it.
Oh, it's enough to flex it. Oh, not really. No, that's not that's welded on. Just rattle it, keep going. Right, so heaps of clearance here. That should be good. Probably just weld a pipe direct to the cooler and maybe come around. And then, yeah, because getting a clamp on there is going to be pretty tight. This side, we'll have to cut more of this off. Just that rear there, just to get a bit close to it. It'll probably work if you welded a pipe directly onto it. Just take like an inch off there, like a finger's width off there, and then around. That one should be nice and easy, but we'll also have to put the bar on so we see where the fog lights end up sitting, so that the fog lights clear the cooler piping too, because nothing worse than a Falcon without fog lights. But what we've got to make is a rack for there, because that got cut off, so might even just extend that tab, we'll weld another one on, cut it off flush and weld another one on, and then just drill a hole through both of them and do a nut and bolt through it. And then it doesn't matter where we drill our hole in it, because we'll drill through both at once. All right, so Juzzy's got the cooler sort of mounted where he wants. He's starting to make that bracket. Now we've test fit the front bar just to make sure that the fog lights will clear. The fog lights kind of sit here. So we've got plenty of room there to go. We are definitely going to commit to going through the thing here. So, and then what we found is that this pipe, which was the turbo outlet pipe, if we cut about there, and we cut about there, that will almost perfectly help us here. So I'm just going to cut them off and see where that ends up, and see if that helps us at all. Came back out, Josie's pulled my cooler off. So just going to quickly just double check this again. So, about there, it's going to get welded direct to the cooler for at least a little bit of that. That clears everything, and that tucks in pretty tight here, so that should work pretty good. Nice. All right, just getting ready to we'll just cut that little piece of the tab off, and then he's got a bracket he's made. He's going to weld to that main piece, and then I'll show you that done. I'm going to go now drill out the throttle body holes for the FG throttle. All right, so I'm going to take these two studs out. I'm just going to start with the two nuts method and tighten the nuts together and see if I can just back them out with the nuts. They look like they're probably Loctited in, so lock those nuts up. Try and loosen the back one. All right, that does spin out easy, beautiful. Alrighty, I'll pull the next one out. Beautiful. Now I'm going to leave these two in just while I'm drilling my holes, but I'll go to bolts when I fit the actual FG throttle body. Alrighty, so I'm not sure exactly what the best way to mount this throttle body will be, but I'd imagine I'll probably want it that way. Oh, actually, that touches. That might be a problem. That looks like it's going to hit here, so maybe we have to go upwards. Yep. Huh. We have a new problem, Justin. So what I'm thinking, I'd like to do the throttle body this way because it keeps the plug at the bottom and looks sort of the neatest. Because if I make an adapter plate, I can design it in Fusion, I can 3D print it, and then I can send it to someone to make out of alloy. Because once that sits forward enough to make the plate fit, that'll clear everything. The other problem is that the holes don't actually line up, throttle openings, if that makes sense. I'll go see if I've got a gasket for a BA throttle and I'll put it on the back of this and it'll make sense. All right, so with a gasket, it becomes obvious what I'm saying, where you line those two holes up. The FG throttle actually would be more restrictive because it's losing that much of the hole. Obviously it's just overlapping a bit here, but it's very close there actually. But once you do an adapter plate, you can angle the tube of it within the adapter plate, so it'll still flow from this to where it's going, just on a slight angle to make it there. So I think tonight I'm going to have a crack at trying to design that in Fusion. I'll take home both throttles, take home this gasket and a ruler and stuff, and try and make that in Fusion. And if I can work out how to make that 3D printed, I can then get that made out of alloy CNC. And the benefit of getting an adapter plate made up too would be I don't have to drill and tap my plenum, so you just use countersunk bolts in there, and then you have threads in your adapter plate and you just use slightly shorter bolts. These bolts will just go straight through, all the way through the spacer. With an adapter plate that'll work better because you just have through holes on the adapter plate on this side, countersunk screw holes in that side, put countersunk screws in there, that'll then sit flush, throttle sits on that, and then the adapter plate will have its own holes moved further over for the FG throttle. The inner dimension of that will move over to move the throttle body over to that side, so there should be no loss in flow, and it will fit, and I'll be laughing, and it will be awesome, and then I can sell them to people. So I just wanted to just double check, and I moved the studs from one side to the other. I definitely can't re-drill it this way. It would have definitely had to go that way, but that does clear this now. But the whatever that motor is, I guess, at the bottom, that still touches really bad. And even if we clearance the shit out of the bottom of this plenum, that'll still, like, that's a centimetre, like that's not going to ever clear. No amount of grinding will make that clear. So definitely need an adapter plate to make that throttle body work, no matter what way we go. All right, starting to get serious, time to hole saw the chassis. Beautiful. This happens when it's 0.7 mil thick steel.
Hey, cover your holes with this.
All right, beautiful. So that is nice and close to the edge.
Far forward as we could go.
Yeah, leaves as much room for an oil cooler.
Really nice.
So the oil cooler will obviously have to follow this shape, probably to mount, but we'll figure that out. Another day. Another day, another problem. Once that's got edging on it, you won't notice that little hole that was already there. All right, so now with that hole cut, I can now, we dummy fitted that up to the cooler. It's like 90% there, but this ends up on the wrong angle. So I'm gonna cut this off before that weld, and then we'll see how that hard mounts to the cooler and see if that's gonna work for us. Alrighty, so I took the end off that, but we're just not loving the angle that works out to, and there's a fairly aggressive bend there. We're probably gonna go a 90 off this and then a 90 to go up, like a bend 90, not a fabricated 90. Because it's going to create a lot of turbulence, I think, being such an aggressive bend, and we don't need an aggressive bend if we put a slightly more aggressive bend there. So we're going to put a 90 off the cooler here, and then a 90 to go up. I'm just going to take this piece off the cooler for now, and then we can use that one for dummying stuff up as well, because that's a decent 90 that we can use. Alrighty, so Justin has been working away, getting this side. I believe he's got this side fully done. It's just final welding it now. So it's going off that, which knocks it down a bit, goes through the hole. So I'll show you what he's done. So he's got all this ready to go, just doing the final welding on it. So I'll put a bit of that in. because I have been measuring and designing and trying to make a adapter flange, but I just think I'm out of my depth on fusion. So my issue is I can't, like obviously the holes are offset, which you can sort of see there, which I've got designed. So that's the bolt pattern for BA, that to that is bolt pattern for FG, and then obviously that would need to be the countersunk holes to bolt the adapter to the BA plenum, and then bolt so the FG would go through and then through the BA holes, and then it would go into its own threads here, which that would like get wrapped around. Then obviously it would taper to there and to there. But I'm pretty bad at designing this, and I don't really know there's a lot of like advanced features that I don't know how to do. So I started messaging Custom Alloy Welding, and he reckons he's just sent me a photo. He's actually got the adapter that I need designed. He's just seeing if he's got material and can try and get one made this week for me. So if I can get that before Friday, then I can whack all that throttle body on for next weekend, and Justin can finish the cold side. So I think we might be on here. If he's got all that, I'll just pay him to make it, and he's already designed it. It saves me having to figure out all this stuff. I'll probably keep playing with this later, to see if I can learn how to do this, so that I can actually do stuff like this myself. But I don't need to learn how to do this by tomorrow is what I'm getting at. So, because I could always 3D print this, make sure it works, and then send it to a guy who can CNC it for me locally. But I just don't know what his lead time would be either. He might be 2 weeks or something, I don't know. So, but it is an option if I need to get stuff made in the future on another project. Alrighty, so obviously just welded to the cooler, then to a clamp here. And then that pops up, and then these, just gotta cut this there, and that'll join those two sections. All right, so it's 5 o'clock. We need to go. Justin has to go. I have to go. We got not a lot done. We solved a lot of problems though. I think I got a solution for my throttle body issue. Custom Alloy Welding making me a bracket, hopefully, an adapter, so I can plug the FG throttle on it. So that's sorted. This side is not even started, but we have a plan. We think we know what we need to get that sorted. This is half welded, half tack, but clamp here, hard line all the way to the intercooler from there on. Once you come up here, this is just all tacked, but that's all tacked all the way to the turbo with the clamp here. So yes, it's tacked, but it's got a little bit of movement, and when it was just taped together, we could get it out. So should still be able to get it out once it's welded as well, because obviously with that clamp there and the clamp down the bottom, that'll come out. So Justin's gonna take that home and finish weld that at home during the week, because he can't come back tomorrow. So my job tomorrow now, fit the turbo drain when I get a new hose from 1320, take my injectors, get tested, and then final fit my plenum, make my 2 feed lines, which will be -8, make my return, and mount my reg over here, and fit my flex sensor, plug it in, and then the car will just sit for the week. Then we'll fit the FG throttle here, and then next weekend we'll make that cold side, and then it's pretty much ready to go on the dyno from that point. So obviously then neaten up things like paint all the stuff that needs to be painted, and clean up this rust and paint that sort of stuff, but we can do all that after the fact, after it's all fabricated. But anyway, everything's in, totally clears the headlights, like not even close to the headlights, so heaps of room there. And our plan for over this side also leaves heaps of room. So I just then need to wire the indicators like from that other video the other week, and then obviously just neaten up some of this wiring and stuff now that the battery tray's gone, and then we should be good. And then obviously sort out a catch can solution, which I'll probably end up going that 1320 catch can tomorrow as well. So I've got a bit of a shopping list tomorrow at 1320, and then yeah, we should be laughing. Alrighty guys, day 3 kicking off of my simple intercooler installation video. So obviously took my oil drain into 1320, and my fuel hoses just to match up stuff in -8. Anyway, ended up grabbed another 45 for Justin, just so that we can make sure that we get that cold side done nicely. And then I've got an absolute truckload of parts in the bag, which I'll probably just bring inside and show you everything, and explain what I bought. All right, so yeah, went a little overboard at 1320. So all right, now let's explain it. Obviously Plazzy fuel rail, what I was gonna do was just use the -6 orbs from my last fuel rail, but I decided no, I'm gonna do -8 hose. So obviously this comes with -8, that's -8 to -6, so I'll probably use a 6 to 6 on there for the return. So obviously twin feeds will be -8 from the pump. So I bought some -6 200, -8 200. Now to make the -8 feeds work, I've got -6 to 8 adapters to go on the pumps. Will that restrict flow? Probably not, because the pump's output is like a M10 or something tiny anyway. So it'll go from M10 to -6 to -8. Honestly, it's only going to be this much restriction, so not a big deal. Then -8 150s to replicate the 150s that were on the -6 feed lines originally, and then just 290s to go onto those, so they'll go straight down and then to the surge tank, to the pump, sorry. Then for the return line is going to go into the reg. The reg used to be mounted on the firewall. Sorry, not mounted on the firewall. It was mounted on the rail at the back of the engine. Made it an absolute pain in the ass to try and adjust. So it's now going to probably get mounted down here on this panel. Some people mount them up higher. I think the way I'm going to try and do the flex sensor, I think that's just not going to work for me. If it was just the reg, I could probably mount it there off one of these bolts or something. It'd probably work fine. But the way that I am planning on doing it, it will need to probably be down here. So the adjuster screw will be at the top. The gauge will sort of be here. So hopefully you can see that under the cooler piping once that's fitted. And then the flex sensor will sit under it. So it'll basically mount like that in the guard. So, or I'll just drop it through the hole in the guard. So let's get the back line out of the way. So it'll effectively mount about there. I'll probably need to make up a spacer or something, or flip that bracket that's on the reg. So that flex sensor will mount to the guard below it. It's just got a 90 female to female. So that'll be obviously mounted basically like that. That's that sorted. I do have a straight female to female, which I just dropped as well, just in case I do decide to mount anything differently. So that's all -8 stuff. Now -6 return from the rail to the reg. I've now got a couple meters of hose, and I've got 2 straights, 2 45s, 2 90s, 1 180 and 1 150. So to get from the rail to here, and then from here back to the tank, that'll have everything sorted. Now I've also bought their 1320 style catch can. So they get these tanks made. They're not an off-the-shelf item anywhere else. So it comes with hose separators, braided hose. It is just rubber line, but -8 fittings. So that will have all that dialed, and that mounts up like where the other ones do up here. So I was trying to go to a sealed catch can and vent it back to the intake pipe, just to try and scavenge as much oil vapor out of the engine as I could, using the turbo intake pipe, but I don't have time to get that sorted for now. I can always just switch out the can and add that line from the can to the intake pipe later. Oil drain. Now I've also got 2 8th MPT weld-on bungs and blankers. So one will be on the cooler pipe on this side, so I can run dyno boost pre-intercooler, and then obviously I'm logging map sensor post-intercooler in the manifold, so I'll be able to get a little bit of info on pressure drop on this Process West cooler versus the airflow. The airflow dropped like 1 PSI or 2 PSI or something, so it'll be interesting to see what the Process West drops. And the second one is going to go on the intercooler piping just before the throttle body, just hidden underneath, for a nitrous dry nozzle for when I do add nitrous to this. So both will be there ready to go whenever I need them. So obviously not fitting nitrous in this phase because I'm doing too many things already. The injectors are at 1320 getting tested and cleaned, so they will obviously give me a buzz when they're ready to go. So for now, I'll probably start with catch can stuff, get that all dialed in. I will paint some of this stuff I'll just tuck some cardboard in behind there, paint all this stuff. I'm not going to whizzy this back today because cooler pipe is just there. I'll wait till that's all back together and then I'll paint it. So I'll deal with that later. So yeah, I'll probably just bolt the fuel rail up without the injectors, and I'll still be able to make all my hoses and get my hoses dialed, and get my flex sensor plumbed and plugged in and everything. And then I'll have to pull the rail back out to put the injectors back in next week. Now I have ordered new plugs because these are broken as well. So I'm just going to repin and replug all 6 injectors and make that a lot neater. I've got some good quality plugs coming from EFI hardware. So anyway, that is the rough plan for today. So the car won't be a driver this week. I was hoping it might be, but I'm thinking I probably won't get those injectors back today, so that's all good. I would have had to put the BA throttle body on there anyway. Do have obviously a adapter coming so I can fit my FG throttle as well, so that should all be here. I have ordered the 3-inch Aeroflow bolt-on FG throttle adapter too through 1320, and the adapter harness to run the FG throttle. And my plan with that is, let's just put some light here. So the BA throttle plugs are huge. I'm gonna just cut these wires here and extend them. And the drive-by-wire plug is this one, I think. Again, I'm gonna just cut that off and extend it. instead of running the extension wires for this plenum and then an adapter harness, I'm just gonna chop the plugs off the adapter harness, extend that to the factory wires, so then my factory harness just plugs into the FG throttle. And then if I do ever sell this plenum, I can sell the adapter harnesses without having them being chopped up or anything like that. So just the extension, sorry, not the adapter harness. So yeah, that should all be the plan for this weekend. It's already 11 o'clock, so let's see how much I get done today. But my car will be a pusher for the week, so let's just get as much done today as I can. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna do the oil drainer. Just get that done out of the way and make sure that all fits, because that I might, if it doesn't reach, if it's not long enough, it was just going to be borderline. If that doesn't reach, then we'll have to make a new hose for that. So let's get that smacked out, because then I will know straight up if that's going to reach. All right, so I've got to rip the front cover off the turbo to get the oil drain on. Makes life easier. Alrighty, so yeah, that'll reach. We'll be good. All right, I'll try and get the angle better and put some light here. Alrighty, so hopefully that can be in frame. On the plus side, it's not hitting on any of the housings or anything, so hopefully this can go up all the way and get it tight. And hopefully this wasn't leaking from any of the flanges, or hopefully it didn't have a damaged taper that I couldn't see. Alrighty, I'll leave that just a little bit loose so I can come back to that. Now I'll bend it down to the sump and make sure it's going to reach. Alright, that's going to be pretty tight. I might have to go down under the car to get the rest of this. You just can't see it, it's just on the other side of this, but that is like very close. But if I just put like a 45 or something on the sump end, that'll definitely work. It just needs that last extra like inch or just the right angle, because to get that straight, it's too much of a curve that needs to be made. So yeah, that definitely needs like a little bit more, definitely needs one more fitting there. So see if I can bend this any better, but I doubt it. I just don't want to snap it or anything. It's probably pretty sturdy, but yeah, it's definitely going to need to be longer. So that was the longest one they had. So I'll definitely need to either get like a female to female 45 and then put a female to male 45, or even just replace that sump end, the whole piece, with an extended bent turbo drainer. Just don't know if they do one that will be extended and bent for Falcon style. Right, so to get the opposite angle of that from down below, you can see that it's just never gonna work. So I just need to get like a bent 45 fitting. Now this threaded part is not great, but I think that's just an orb fitting. So I might be able to pull the orb fitting out, leave this plate on the sump, which is a Speedflow orb to whatever. I might be able to get another orb fitting and then do a female to male 45. Should be just enough to get that going. All right, awesome. So messaged Mick at 1320 and he confirmed that was going to be a -8 orb. So I just ripped it out and checked it in my fuel rail. It's definitely -8 orb, so perfect. So I just need a -8 orb to -10 adapter, and then a -10 male to female 45, and then we are cooking with gas, and that will have that buttoned up, and which is awesome, because I really wanted to get that buttoned up before I had to get this cooler piping put back on, so that the turbo front cover can go back on for the last time. All right, so because I'm such a genius, -8 orb out of the back of the old Aeroflow fuel rail. So I'm just going to plug that hole with a orb fitting so that I can brake clean everything and not send brake cleaner into my sump. So just to cap that for now. That's facing down, so that's unlikely to get any brake cleaner in it. So hopefully now, when I brake clean the shit out of this, and with this new turbo drain, I'll see how much is still leaking. Because it is possible that it is still these flanges leaking, which I can obviously reseal later. The turbo one is going to be a mission, but we'll obviously find out now once we get this properly cleaned down again. I do still think the rear main's leaking, but I think the main leak was actually the turbo drain, because all this has to come from the turbo drain. So obviously it is getting all the way over everything, but let's start with the front leak and find out how bad the rear main is, and all the flanges. So yeah, we'll clean the shit out of this, and hopefully that'll show us what's leaking still. And I will nip this up now, because now I know it's basically routed correctly, and I don't want to forget it and then cause oil to piss out everywhere anyway. So that is tight. Well, no, now it's tight. So yeah, obviously once I get those other fittings, that'll be all buttoned up. Now to degrease the living crap out of all this because there's some slime going everywhere. So back of the power steering pump's pretty good for a Falcon anyway. And there's not really any fresh oil on the alternator, so I'm going to call that good. But I'm just going to brake clean from the top because obviously the fans will have been flicking the oil drain leaks everywhere. So we'll get this as neat as possible from the top and then go to lift the hoist and then spray it all down again from the bottom. Alrighty, everything's pretty sprayed down now. Not a lot of oil anyway. So one thing I did see though, when I was spraying through here, luckily, saw the little bracket there for the alternators coming out. So I'll go ahead and try and give that a bit of a tighten. Hopefully that's not pulled threads or anything silly. Now, got all this pretty good. There's a little bit of old caked on stuff still, but any new leaks will be pretty visible. So cleaned up in through here as well, got all that dried, transmission dried. So it should be pretty obvious if anything's leaking now. Alrighty, so that did end up pulling tight. Luckily, it wasn't ripped out threads, so all good there. Alrighty, so next thing, going to do the catch can, just because that is something that I can actually finish. So obviously you've got your 2 orb fittings to go to the top of the can, blanker for the bottom. You could probably put a drain in that if you wanted. Then 2 90s for the rocker covers, and then line separators. So it comes as a complete kit. It's actually a pretty good setup, and it'll look real neat. So I'll start cutting some hoses and assembling, and we'll get this mounted. Now this mounts obviously up here. I think it goes to the mount for the overflow bottle. So probably just put 1 bolt in there for now just to hold it in place while the overflow is just floating around. And then yeah, we'll get the hoses done and I'll show you the finished product. Alrighty, so chuck your O-rings on your orb fittings and your blanker. Give them a spritz of silicone spray. Whack them in the can. Because it's powder coated, it can be, really don't want to start. I think it's just the powder coat jamming me up. Yeah, I think it's just the powder coat jamming me up. Start with the blanker at the bottom, do that up. Tight, beautiful. I think the powder coat's getting a little bit into the threads. Might be why I was having some struggles with the orb fittings. But just get them started. All right, that one works. Just a little bit tight because of that powder coating, I guess. Beautiful. Alright, get this one in. This one was going in earlier, but it just got a little bit tight, so I thought I'd just double check them, but I think it's just the powder coat. Tight. Clean up the dust on there. Alright, beautiful. Now, mount the catch can in the car. So I'll just whack 1 bolt in for now, just loosely. Just hold it in place so I can measure up the hoses. That'll sit there nicely, cover up where my little pump is anyway. Get my fittings. So we want to run 190 here. 190 here. Now I probably need to come up with a better solution here. I might need to cut that hole out a little bit bigger. I'll find a bit of a better way to get onto those. That orb fitting's just welded on a little bit low. Now I believe you do the 120 here and the 90 here. And then obviously just make your lines. So I'll get the hose and dummy those lengths up and chop them. So these are just 100 series or whatever, it's just braid and rubber. So these are a little different to the 200 series, which I'm going to do for all the fuel lines. So I'll just show you one of these. Obviously you unthread that. You just want to whack that over your hose. Then you want to spray a bit of silicone spray in the hose, bit of silicone spray on there. You then push that in and then you just tighten this up. Helps if you have a vise, stick that in a vise, tighten it up on a vise. But pretty simple, a little bit easier than the PTFE because there's no little olive. All right, and there's your finished fitting. Now, what I did do, I pushed my hose too far through this. It was a little hard to push through, and I haven't done these in ages, so I went too far and I couldn't get it started. So you only want to go to, like, to be honest, it's probably those little lines there that are scratched into the fitting. You want to go so that the threads can start and then it pulls the hose in. Righty, that's our rough travel path. We want to meet up with that hose and we're going to do front fitting to the front fitting. I'm just going to cut this here for now, which is a little bit longer than what I need, but it leaves me with a little bit up my sleeve so that I can make the back line, and then I'll cut them both the same exact length so they fit really good together. So I'll just get this cut for now, and then I'll cut it to exact length later. Now I should probably put some tape on this actually, save getting strays going everywhere. So I'll look for some electrical tape. Just stops all the little metal stainless pieces going stray everywhere. Chomp. Alrighty, now we'll make up the second hose first, the first half of that. Alright, line 2 made. What I found was I was having a hard time getting the hose pushed through the little lock tab, lock collar. So I just put it in a little cup of boiling water and it just pushes in much easier. So course, the curve of this hose really wants to not work. Problem with rubber hose, it comes in a coil, never lines up curved the way you want it. Do that up. Alrighty, so they're going to come together over there. So we'll cut this one to the exact length because it's just a straight shot, and we'll get that one made up first, and then we'll cut this one down to make it match. So I should be able to make these in the car because I've got the hot water. I should be able to push it together a little easier. Alright, so right there, worst case, I think that's actually, even if I mess that up, I've got more than enough left to make it again if I cut this too short. That should be spot on, and chomp. Alrighty, going to dip that in hot water and then put my, actually I can just undo this. This one's the easy one to undo, the other one's a lot tighter. I'll do the other one in the car. So I just sort of start this and then dip it in the hot water and then push it down on the table to do it the rest of the way. So start it, stick it in the hot water, give it about 30 seconds just to get that rubber a lot softer. Then we'll go to the bench. It should push in nice and easy. Might just need a little bit more hot water, a little more. The water's not as hot as it was earlier, so it might be not getting as soft. All right, perfect. Hit it with the silicone spray again, hit that, thread her in. Once you start it by hand, you can then do it up with your spanners. Just gonna refit it to the rocker cover and then do the final tighten with it in place so I get the alignment of the fitting correct. Beautiful. All right, one hose done. Now, I'll put the separators on it just so that it's exactly spaced right how I want it to be cut. Alrighty, so all beautiful. So that does look a lot neater than the other catch can I had, so awesome there. So we'll put the turbo front cover back on because that can go back on. It's a very fiddly job, but nothing makes a fiddly job easier than having a video rolling while you're trying to do it. Just make sure the O-ring is all the way home. I might just hit that O-ring with silicone spray now so it doesn't pinch or anything while I'm trying to put it all back together. I'll just give it a slight nip up because obviously Justin was doing the cooler pipe to suit a certain spot and he'll just have to loosen it. So I'll just do that bolt down. I won't tighten it fully. So when he finishes the cooler piping next week, it's ready to go. All right, that can still spin. Perfect. All right, I'll probably put the turbo controller line back on because that shouldn't be in his way. Then I'll fit the coolant tank back over where it's supposed to go. Now, I absolutely hate has been re-drilled because someone drilled it to move it further away from the turbo. But I can't really justify 250 bucks for a new one just for that. So I might go try and find some bigger washers and some better bolts just to take your eye off that a little bit. All right, got some bolts and washers. So hopefully that takes your eye off this a bit. All right, well, that actually results, that catch can makes it so that I can't actually push that on to the second holes. I'll have to use the original holes, which is fine. Lucky I've got the washers here so I can do that. It's not that close to the turbo anyway, so I think it was the previous turbo that was causing this drama. So that worked out all right. You don't notice it used to look absolutely putrid, but hopefully you just don't really notice those extra holes. I might just spritz them with a bit of paint. It's annoying that it sort of scratched this a bit, but here's what it is. Anyway, catch can came out really nice. Just sort of tucked in behind that a bit. So might send boys at 1320 a photo of that. All right, so slowly making progress. Everything's slowly coming back together. Obviously got to run that cooler pipe, paint all that, and then do the cold side stuff. So what I'll do now, fit that fuel rail back in place, start making my fuel lines and making a bracket to hold my reg over here. Okay, all right, moving on to the fuel system. I'm gonna start with the 2-8 feed hoses. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lube all of my orb fittings on my rail and final tighten all of those just so I don't forget any of them. Now all these brackets will be left a bit loose till the injectors are here because they might need a little bit of adjustment once the injectors are in. All right, so I almost built it with the 6 orb to 8, but I'm gonna use -6 back to the reg. Now this is the one out of the old fuel rail. The end of it's not great, so I'm just going to get another one. So I will just use this one for today, just a dummy fit, so I can make the lines, and then I will replace it with a brand new one later. So note to self, replace that later. All right, well, I think I worked out the reason why I got this Plazzy fuel rail cheap from Golby's is it's the old style. So I didn't realize it was the old style when I bought it. Been trying to fit it today, just realizing that I thought maybe I had these, because these are bolt-on brackets, the new one comes all one piece without bracket. There's no instructions or anything, so I have no idea what way these are all supposed to go. I think that's correct. What I'm finding is, so like if you've got them that way, you can get the bolt through here, but on some of them you've got to do them that way, I think, which makes it really hard to get the bolt through. So I just need to work out the exact spacing of that. I'll just double check that against my last fuel rail and just see what way it's supposed to be. Because I thought if I did all of them sort of like that, and then like that, the problem is that these holes don't then line up, like they're too far apart. So I think that needs to come that half a hole this way like that, but it then just makes it really hard to get the bolts in. So I just need to work out the exact spacing first and then figure that out. All right, so looking at the old one is now making more sense. They're actually a different height. So that would explain a lot. Because, oh no, okay, so they're different heights too. All right, well, that's not really helping. All right, this is making even less sense now. The bolts that it came with don't even work. It's literally impossible. So with that through that hole, I get that there's a spring washer or whatever. Maybe I'll have to get rid of the spring washer to be able to tighten that. That'll work. I'll just have to get rid of the spring washers, I guess, and the washers. Maybe I'll just fit it without the washers. I don't know. You'd think, given that there's enough spring washers and washers for every bolt, you'd use them, but the only way to get that to work is without washers. What I'm sort of getting at here is that bolt is tight and there is no way to get that bolt in. Right, so I think this is my solution. Obviously that side is sweet, should be sweet. These ones, I've got one spring washer missing. That's tight. I can get my socket on there. Same deal there. I should be able to get my socket on there and hopefully I can tighten it. Right, it feels a little backwards doing it up, but you've got to like do up one a little bit and the next one a little bit, and then hopefully those holes line up. Yeah, they're good. So rail is just a little bit loose, but it'll be in place enough for me to do what I need to do now, which is just make the fuel lines. So that'll do for now. At least now I somewhat can have some idea of how it's supposed to go, because that was absolutely cooking my brain. All right, so I've started with one of my 90s on my hose. Just gonna feed the hose down out of the way and hook the 90 to the rail and make sure it's gonna work. All right, so that's gonna work. Got enough clearance to everything. Clears the plenum, clears the lower plenum. That obviously is just sitting up here for now, but it'll tuck back a little more than that and then shoot through that gap down there under the manifold. I'll just cut it a little bit shorter because it's a little bit hard to work with this much hose. All right, I was able to actually snake that whole hose down. Anyway, so it comes through there. It doesn't go fully under the manifold. It kind of goes around everything, around the engine mount, over the front of the AC and then back. So now there's a -6, but I've got a -6 to -8 adapter. Whack that on. Then we're going with these 150s or whatever they were, same as the original one. Same as the original ones. Yeah, whatever they were, 150s, same as the originals. So that will go to about there. Could have probably done 180s to be honest, but either way. So we'll mark that with a little bit of tape and chop that. All right, so I've got that cut. Now the next one is the fitting is literally right there. Yeah, the fitting is right there. So that'll just be a straight shot straight down. So I probably need more like a 90-degree bend here, or like a 120, not a 150. So I may change that fitting because obviously it used to go to the middle of the rail, now it goes to the back. Right, I was able to route that a little better that time, so it does go fully under the manifold now. So just down there. So we'll see if that's ended up too long, because that is a fair bit shorter than what it would have been. But we'll see. If it still bolts up and doesn't kink or anything, that'll be fine. All right, unfortunately that did end up way too long. So I might have to, I'll see if it bolts up, but I mean, oh, that kind of worked. Maybe I'll just, for now, I'll just do it up and route it differently up top, undo it and route it back the other way. All right, so I routed that a little differently down here. So I went to the top pump, went over the engine mount that time, and I'll zip tie it up to that heater line. Just ignore the injector plugs and the TPS plug and stuff. Once it zip ties up to that injector hose, so that heater hose, it'll pull it up a bit and keep it fairly out of the way of everything. So that'll work, it won't rub through or anything. So I'll start on the next one. I'll see if I can do another 120 here, but it may work. I'll have to see. All right, so it looks like the 120 should work. So just lift that up a little bit, basically come out like that, and that's just a straight shot, straight up, basically just goes straight up to where that -6 is right there, that shiny bit. All right, I've got my 90 on here to go to the rail at the back. Now I'm gonna feed it up from the bottom, just because I'll make sure that it goes through the right hole. I won't be able to see where it's routing from the top down. So we're aiming to go on the inside of all that, not through the cam sensor. We want to go about there, and hopefully we can grab that from the top. Alrighty, so that came up, beautiful. Run that back down and do that up. I do hope there's enough clearance there. Worst case, I can always just do it on the end, but I reckon I'll be able to do that if I put the camera down. But yeah, if I can't tighten that, I'll just go to I'll move the orb in the blanker and just go to the end of the rail. All right, so I was able to go straight down. Straight down works, plenty of room. It's a little tight to the plenum starting it, but once it does up, it pulls right away, so that'll be perfect. Now we'll go down and put the 120 on it. Righty, so that's the back hose. Then I think once we bend a bit of that, that'll go perfectly to that. So I will just put the camera down now and mark that and cut it. All right, so this looks perfect. That will cut right there perfectly, out of the way of everything. Just sits in behind that rubber hose, doesn't really touch anything. It'll be able to pull away from the block with a zip tie. Righty, hose made. Let's whack it back in and then I'll final tighten it once it's in place. Obviously there's no injectors fitted, but I am loving how sleek this is. I wouldn't mind maybe redoing that whole loom, but given the fact I'm going to do a plenum at some point, a Toomey plenum, like in 6 months or something, there's probably no point. So I'll just do my injector plugs for now, which will keep me going a little bit neater, a little bit safer, a little bit more reliable anyway. So I'll just go down and final tighten both of those -8s at the other end, at the fuel pump end, and then they're fitted. And then I just got to make the return to the reg, but I am out of time, so that will have to wait till next weekend. All right, I'm just going to tighten the top fitting. I'll tighten it to the pump first. Tight. I'll just make sure this is nipped up. You just don't want to fully tighten these before you get them in position, because you'll need to rotate swivel the fitting. All right, that's twisting the whole hose. Let's see if I can swivel the top half of it instead, because you don't want the PTFE line twisting. All right, that's pretty tight, and that's still good. Now that one, come down and tighten under there. Hopefully. Right, awesome. So yeah, they cross over, but they don't touch, so it's fine by me. Like, get my finger through the back of there. Anyway, we'll tighten this line fitting now. So same deal, I'll try and tighten it by this piece, not the line end, otherwise the line will want to twist. Tight. All right, so we can leak check that another day, but that is all the supply fuel line sorted. Just got to do the return and the reg and the flex sensor now, which I can do next weekend. Alrighty guys, so that wraps up the video for today. Obviously didn't get everything that I wanted to do done, but this will probably be it. There's 3 days of footage, so that'll go into one video, and next week will be the second half of the intercooler install. So if I put all this into one video, it's just going to be too big. It's going to be well over an hour. So that'll wrap it up for today. So thanks guys for watching, liking, subscribing, all that. Yeah, I'll catch you on the next part of this video, and hopefully we get it all sorted before next week and get the car on the dyno and get some power made.